I'm here with Sumner Lee. He's the CEO of Fuse Integration, and his company is has been recognized as a top veteran-friendly employer by the U.S. Veterans Magazine. I want to welcome you here for our interview today. I'm so looking forward to doing this. And I know that you had told me earlier, but since we've just started this recording, could you tell us exactly where you are at, and can you show us a little bit of that plane behind you, just a little bit about yourself and where you're at? I just think it's pretty amazing that you're right there on location.
Absolutely, Mona Lisa. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be able to come and interview with you and your organization. You know, I'm a veteran myself. I was a Navy H-46 helicopter pilot. Now I own a small business, Fuse, that I founded in 2010. And we're almost 40% veterans in the organization, just over 100 people. And so I really connect with and love the fact that you've focused your magazine and your attention on veterans in transition, because I do think it's super important and great. I love hiring veterans because of their resiliency and their capabilities and their knowledge. Fuse is a technology firm, so we build network systems, and we build network systems primarily for aircraft. So I'm down here with what we call the Fuse Test Squadron aircraft. This is a 1968 O2A. It is an awesome aircraft from the Vietnam era that we're able to use to be able to go fly and check out and make sure things are working the way they're supposed to work when they get into the bigger aircraft. And so we build systems for the E-2D, for the B-52, for the B-1, for F-18, but we also are able to be able to make sure that we understand what's going on with the systems, and we can make sure that they're working properly right here with organic test aircraft that we use.
Oh, that's amazing. How exciting. And you're flying today, is that right?
Yep, I'm going to go up and get a little flying. Unfortunately, I don't get to fly as often as I would like, so we've got professional pilots that actually make the real work happen, but I get to go up and get current again today, so that's going to be a good thing.
Well, I'll tell you, I have a lot of questions, but I have to stick to my script here to ask you a few of these. But yeah, later on, I'd love to know more about your flight there. You know, you mentioned that you're a veteran yourself, and I just want to know a little bit more about your story of how you transitioned from military service to becoming an entrepreneur and a successful business leader.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's actually been a lot of fun. I flew helicopters here in San Diego, flew with HC-11, and then I went to SPAWAR, now called NAVWAR. So it's a Navy Technology Development Command, and I was there in uniform and then as a government civilian. And while I was there, I kind of treated like that like getting an MBA, but in the Navy acquisition and DoD acquisition environment. Then I actually did get an MBA from USC, and I went to a design firm, and I've always been really centered in my life around design. And so I got to experience a little bit of the acquisition world and building technology for military systems, and then the design world. And what I tried to do when I founded Fuse was pull the best practices of user-centric design, of design thinking processes and techniques back into DoD technology. And I think it's worked pretty well. We're growing. We're over 100 people. We're going on to multiple platforms. We actually just had another flight test on the E-2D just on Friday. That was a successful test with one of their operational aircraft. We're flying again on the B-1 here shortly. We've flown overseas on the B-52. The way that I really got into all of this was taking that design knowledge and then also the technology piece and then the operational experience of deploying to the Persian Gulf, and then trying to jam all that together into a small business that can be agile and quick and respond to the user.
You know, you make this sound so easy, but I know it's not. And I got to commend you for that, because, you know, you're so happy and excited about this, and someone else like who's not a technical, just, wow, that doesn't seem very easy to do. I wanted to ask you, why do you think veterans make good business entrepreneurs, and what characteristics do you believe veterans possess that make them good business entrepreneurs?
Well, Mona Lisa, I think that's actually a thing I've seen in your interviews and publications time and again, right? And I think you absolutely focus on all the right stuff. And so I'm happy to be able to talk, because this is an important thing to me. I think that veterans bring resiliency that they learn from being in the military, from going through boot camp, from going through OCS, from going to one of the academies. They learn how to be resilient in tough situations. You know, young people today have life pretty easy. I'm sitting here on my mobile phone, able to do a interview out in the middle of the airport, and now you can be connected to the internet from anywhere in the world. But veterans have to put all that technology down and go through really hard experiences, whether it's deployed on a ship in the middle of the Pacific, deployed in a fighting hole in the desert, or flying a bomber over the North Pole. And so I find that these kind of individuals, all these people who've gone through these experiences, bring a knowledge, a resiliency, a toughness that's hard to find elsewhere in the world.
I agree. I agree. And it's obvious that you have a passion, for the warfighter. How do you apply the focus to the design and development of products to refine them or create new solutions?
So central to Fuse, my company's process, is our own warfighter-focused engineering and design process. And what that really boils down to is taking design thinking concepts and procedures, things that came from Stanford D School and IDEO and a company I worked at called RKS, that's all about being totally centered on the user experience, the user needs, and understanding what that user has to do to make his life easier. And so when you've got an aircraft that's trying to be part of a networked system to go fly through a mission, you need to understand not just what that pilot's doing, but how he's interacting with everybody else. The way we do that is we implement warfighter workshops, warfighter engagements, and all sort of consistent and repetitive interactions with the users and with the warfighters. When we start a project for a system, we don't just sit down with the engineers and start digging into the systems engineering and modeling and the technology. We sit down with the users and we make sure that we build a real understanding of what that user's going through as they're trying to implement that technology in their normal workflow, trying to make their life easier for whatever mission it is they're trying to do.
I think that makes a lot of sense there. What makes your company most unique?
So I think one of the things that makes our company so unique is that constant touch of the warfighter. I mean, sometimes we have to fight to get in front of the users. We have to go and find relationships we have with a squadron commander or a wing commander, or go off to a battalion commander and be able to get in front of those users. Sometimes it's a little sideways compared to the way that typical acquisition might work, but I found that it's really valuable. And so we really drive forward hard to make sure that we are engaging with and working with those users from the very beginning of our projects to the very end.
Excellent. And what's the hardest lesson in business you've learned?
God, the hardest lesson. I was trying to think about this last night because that is a hard question. There's lots of difficult lessons you learn throughout time, dealing with cash flow, dealing with hiring, dealing with all the different customers and people and all the change that happens constantly. But as I was trying to think about this, I came down to looking at it from the point of view of a veteran, somebody who might be thinking about starting their own business and getting into the commercial world. And it's to trust your instincts.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I think can serve you incredibly well as you transition from military service out into the civilian world, is trust your instincts. You've learned how to go through the OODA loop, observe, orient, make decisions, and take action. An example for me is just recently on April Fool's Day, we did a flight test that in February we had not even planned. And then we said, wait a second. My instinct was to go out and fly, test with the pilots and the aircrew, go fly in the desert range and be able to get an understanding of really what they're doing as they're flying their helicopters and what we're doing with our systems right here in this aircraft. And so we spun up a whole event where we went out to a desert range and we flew an entire mission, and we were able to learn exactly what those aircrew needed, and we're able to turn around and turn that into a program and be able to deliver a capability to NavAir that's turning out to be really successful. So that kind of instinct of taking action, I think, is one of the hard things to learn, to be able to do that, but one of the best things you can do.
No, I think that's great advice. Absolutely. So I really don't want to end this conversation and this interview. I'm really enjoying this, but I'm going to ask you one last question, okay? And I ask everyone this. Is there anything else that you want our readers to know about you or the company? And then do you have a motto? Is there something like a saying or something that you live by?
So, one of our mottos, our more polite motto, is to be warfighter focused. That one's really easy. But I'll tell you what, my own motto is to get shit done. And that's my motto. to get out there, deliver on the capability, deliver for the
I love
user, be able to get out in the field. It's been, the really fun thing for me right now with Fuse is we're growing and we're delivering on platforms. And like I mentioned, Navy surveillance aircraft, tactical fighters and bombers, ground systems and unmanned vehicles. And that's really the fun part for me because we're out there getting shit done and delivering
it.
to the user what they need.
Every day. Oh, that's excellent. Thank you so much for this interview. I'm glad to get to know you a little bit more, and congratulations again for being a top veteran-friendly employer. I can only imagine they're going to soar to even more higher heights. So I wish you the best, and be safe out there.
Thanks so much, Mona Lisa. It's been a pleasure to chat with you as well, and I appreciate everything you're doing for veterans as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's my passion. Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. You too.